Please join me in welcoming Larry DeGreif.
Good afternoon. It's an honor for me to be here today. I want to thank the Ithaca College Veterans Day Committee for inviting me. But most importantly, I want to thank you in the audience for taking time in your busy schedules to be here today. Thank you. My thoughts and recollections today focus on I've got your back. If we look at the definition for I've got your back, we see that the theme is you're going to watch out and be a second set of eyes for someone. You will look out for their best interests and let them know if they have missed something, and you will stick up for them. I grew up on a farm in northeast Iowa. When I graduated from high school that summer, I worked in patient care at a state mental health institute. And in the fall, I enrolled at the University of Dubuque. I attended school there for one semester, and it became abundantly clear to me that I was not prepared for the college experience. I enlisted in the Navy in January as a corpsman. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the term hospital corpsman, corpsmen provide medical care and service to others on board naval ships, at shore installations, and with the Fleet Marine Force. Corpsmen are the most decorated rate in the Navy. They have earned 23 Medals of Honor up to this point. The first Medal of Honor was earned by hospital apprentice Robert Stanley back in 1900 for service in Peking, China. The last Medal of Honor recipient was HM2 David Ray in March 1969 for heroism at An Hoi, Vietnam. First individual I'd like to speak about today is Dr. Mary Walker. Some of you may be familiar with her. She's a Medal of Honor recipient from Oswego, New York, and she served in the Civil War. Dr. Walker attempted to join the Union Army, but at that time, females were not allowed in the service. So she became a contract surgeon with the Union forces. And at some point in time in the Civil War, she was captured by Confederate forces and held as a POW. At the conclusion of the Civil War, she was awarded the Medal of Honor, and every day for the remainder of her life, she wore that medal. She was the first and only female to receive the Medal of Honor, and I would invite you to research her life story. It is absolutely above and beyond the call of duty. Next individual is Arnie Cole, my friend from Arizona. Arnie was a corpsman on Iwo Jima in World War II. Iwo Jima was a 36-day battle. During those 36 days, 195 corpsmen were killed in action, 529 were wounded in action. On the 31st day of that 36-day battle, Arnie was moving to treat a wounded Marine. And as he moved forward, he was hit by a round in his left chest cavity, blew out his lung and several ribs, a through and through wound exited in his back. Arnie took a compact, compressed dressing, placed it on his chest to stop the bleeding, then backed up into some rocks to put pressure on his back to prevent himself from bleeding out. He was evacuated, and for the next 2 years, he was in military hospitals. Arnie was discharged from the Navy, returned to Arizona to Phoenix, started a health food store, and he has operated that store for over 60 years. On one of the visits with Arnie, I brought the book Iwo Jima, which details the day-by-day events of that 36-day battle. And I asked him if he would autograph it, and he said that he would. And then he asked, what should I put on there? I said, write whatever you like. So he wrote simply, been there, done that. And about 10 years ago, Arnie's son was assisting him in moving some boxes in Arnie's house. And he noted one box that had no markings on it. He opened that box, and inside was a Purple Heart and other items that Arnie had from Iwo Jima. One of those items was a billfold. And inside the billfold was a photo of a Japanese family. Arnie had picked up that billfold on Iwo Jima from the battlefield. After some discussion, Arnie decided that he would make every effort possible to return the billfold to any living relatives in Japan. So with the help of the Japanese embassy, with the news media, in particular CNN, they were able to contact a sister in Japan, and the billfold was delivered to her. She was overjoyed because that photo was the only photo ever taken of their entire family together. So Arnie certainly simplifies and shows every day of his life, I've got your back. I'd be remiss today if I didn't recognize the 240th birthday of the Marine Corps. Hoorah! Hoorah! The highest compliment a Marine can give to a corpsman is to address them as Doc. I was Doc for 2nd Platoon, Mike Company 3-3. I'm here today because a group of Marines protected me at all costs, up to and including loss of life and limb, and I will never forget that. Conversely, when a Marine calls out, corpsman up, you don't think about it, you're in action. And your focus is you are going to protect and treat that wounded individual. what you do in those first few minutes may well determine whether that Marine lives to fight again another day or they depart in a body bag. I'd like to quickly go through this slide with you. Grade at loss E4, rank hospital corpsman 3rd class. Casualty data, incident date May 1st, 1966. Casualty data, May 1st, 1966, age at loss 21. Location, Quang Nam Province, South Vietnam. Remains, body recovered. That's the most important line in this whole slide. Casualty type, hostile, died of wounds. Casualty reason, ground casualty. Casualty detail, multiple fragmentation wounds. So if we're looking at that slide, it's just some data about a 3rd class corpsman that was killed in Vietnam. But to me, it's a lot more than that. It's someone I served with. He had 2 weeks remaining before he rotated back to the United States. His final patrol, a night patrol, the Marine ahead of him had a tripwire. At that time it was very common. Once the tripwire is hit, it detonates an explosion. So that point person has their back blown off. This corpsman happened to be the person right behind him. And he took the brunt of the explosion, massive wounds. He was killed immediately. 14 days left on his tour. Earlier this year in May, my wife and I took a trip to Vietnam. I'd been there in 50 years, well, 48 years, count the end of the tours, but from the initial landing, 50 years. We traveled from Ho Chi Minh City in the south, formerly known as Saigon, to Hanoi, the capital, in the north. We had just walked out of the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum, and we were in the plaza area, and we noted a group of Vietnamese veterans. So we asked our guide if we could have a conversation with them. And he said, certainly. So we had the privilege of speaking with 4 of the individuals. The 2 ladies there, they didn't need those wheelchairs. They were just off to the side just there. And if you notice from the previous slide, they were standing with the group. Those 2 women, job was to ferry supplies on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And if you recall at that time, we were pretty much bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail 24/7. We were dropping defoliants, including Agent Orange. So they served under very, very hazardous conditions and accomplished their task. The individual with me there, in our conversation, I learned that he had been in Quang Nam Province at the same time I was. We were with opposing groups, and it's possible, if not probable, that our units fired at each other. We had a discussion and agreed that we cannot change the past, that it's healthy to move on, to look at the future, to reconcile. We shook hands, and remember, this is a chance encounter with this group. This wasn't a planned encounter. We shook hands, and it was a life-changing experience for me. Fast forward a few months to today. The corpsman, Jason, who I served with, he was back at the battalion aid station, 3-3 battalion aid station. And so casualties came there from the platoons, from the different companies and units. And if you were stationed at the battalion aid station, it's a little bit, if you think back to the show MASH, the type environment they had there. Not exactly, but something like that. So they received casualties from various areas. And after Jason finished his active duty, he was diagnosed with cancer. And that type of cancer was cured, and he was diagnosed with a second type of cancer. And that cancer went into remission. And now the third strike that he's dealing with now is colon cancer. He's in hospice care. And it's terminal. He maybe has a month left. And I wanted to share this note that Jason sent me. We communicate by snail mail, email, text, even talk on the phone sometime. Jason said, "Hi, Doc. Thanks for the letter. You'll never know how much it means at this time. I remember every one of you guys, and all of you were the best. You are the reason 3-3 did so well in battle. They knew you had their backs." And I like to believe that our fraternity of corpsmen is helping Jason during this transition time. I would ask you to consider this. 3 of our strongest allies in the world today are Great Britain, Germany, and Japan, staunch allies. But in our history, at different points in time, all 3 of those countries were our foes. We fought against them. Now we're strong allies. It would be my hope with Vietnam, and we are allies now, that through reconciliation, we will become stronger allies, just as we did with Great Britain, Germany, and Japan. To my wife, Nancy, my life companion and the love of my life, to my son, Tim, and his husband, Ken, to my son, Anthony, and his girlfriend, Darby, to my daughter, Penelope, her husband, Mike, and their daughters, Josephine and Alexandria, I've got your back. Thank you.